Hi, I'm Bobby Rio, co-creator of Magnetic Messaging, and today's video is called The Best Text to Send Girls. So, targeting emotions in text. What I want to do first is I want to change the way you think about sending text messages. And the massive reframe I want to instill in you is to switch from thinking, what should I write, to what emotion do I want to create in her. What's interesting is that when you make this mental switch, it suddenly becomes a lot easier to craft the perfect message. This is because the reason you might be struggling to figure out what to write a girl is because you don't really have an end goal in mind. Every text you send should have some sort of goal. And that goal should always be to ignite a very specific emotion in the woman that is receiving the text. See, we live in what I call an attention deficit world. Every girl you're interacting with has hundreds of messages bombarding her every day. She's got people on Facebook messaging her, IM chats, text, phone calls, Skype, Twitter, Plenty of Fish, Match. She's got all these people messaging her. So you're competing for her very limited attention span. If your message doesn't stir some sort of emotion in her, it's going to get lost in the shuffle, and so are you. On the other hand, when you learn how to use text to constantly trigger emotions in a woman, she can get emotionally addicted to you. And when this happens, you completely flip the switch, and she starts chasing you. Now, I want to be clear right now that stirring emotions in a woman has nothing to do with, using flowery, descriptive stories. Your aim is not to write emotional text. It's for her to have an emotional response to the message she's getting. And when this happens, this is when you flip that switch, and this is when she starts chasing you. So let's examine some of the different emotional responses. Laughter. Anytime you can make a girl laugh over text, great. Suspense. When you keep her waiting and wondering what's going to happen next. Even anger, and I'll explain that in a minute. Confusion. When you're confused about something, it stays on your mind, it replays. Anticipation, a lot like suspense, it's making you wait. It's that anticipation, joy, an obvious one. Even disappointment can work to your advantage. Trust, fear. You're probably looking at this list and thinking, why in the world would I want to create anger or disappointment? And the answer is because your only goal is to snap her out of that boredom trance and get her thinking about you. And the bigger variety of emotions you can produce in her, the more time she spends thinking about you. Let me ask you something. What happens when somebody angers you? Chances are you spend the next hour playing over that situation in your mind, thinking about it, analyzing it. That person, whoever made you angry, has found a way to capture your limited attention span. You ever somebody pull in front of you, when you're in your car and they cut you off, and for the next 20 minutes you're thinking about that person and you're what you would say to them? That is taking up your attention. So even something as simple as getting a girl angry at you can occupy her attention. I have a friend whose opening line in a bar is to repeatedly poke a woman in her back. Now this usually pisses her off, and when she turns to face him, she's extremely angry. But he now has her full attention, something that's really hard to get in a bar or nightclub, similar to, when you send a girl a text. And he knows how to transition that anger into sexual attraction. And that is a skill that you can also learn. He's also extremely successful with women. So let's examine some of the other emotions. How about suspense? If you text a girl, I just realized you totally remind me of, and then do not finish the sentence or text her back when she asks who, she will be in suspense for the next hour wondering who she reminds you of. It's human nature. It's how television shows get us to sit through commercials. How about laughter? Who doesn't like to laugh? Instead of simply saying, "What are you doing later?" which is illogical and boring, prelude it with a humorous anecdote. I think the world is coming to an end. I saw an old man rollerblading with nothing but tube socks and a fanny pack. So what are you doing later? By triggering the emotional response of laughter, she'll be much more open to your suggestion to hang out later. Every text exchange should elicit some sort of emotion in her.